Indonesia. This archipelago, a string of over 17,000 islands, is a jewel of Southeast Asia. It sits between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Volcanoes pierce the sky, cloaked in emerald green rainforests. The air is alive with the sounds of exotic wildlife. Orangutans swing through the trees and tigers stalk their prey in the undergrowth. Bustling cities stand in stark contrast to traditional villages. Ancient temples whisper tales of a rich history. This is Indonesia, a land of immense natural beauty and cultural richness.
Indonesia is a melting pot of cultures. Over 300 distinct ethnic groups call this archipelago home. From the Javanese, the largest ethnic group, to the Balinese, known for their vibrant arts and Hindu beliefs. The Indonesian people are renowned for their warmth and hospitality. Music and dance are integral parts of Indonesian culture. Gamelan orchestras fill the air with their mesmerizing melodies. Intricate dances tell stories passed down through generations. This rich cultural tapestry is woven together by a shared history.
Indonesia's story begins long before the arrival of Europeans. The islands were once home to powerful empires. The Sriwijaya Empire, centered in Sumatra, controlled maritime trade routes for centuries. The Majapahit Empire, based in Java, united much of the archipelago under its rule. These empires were centers of learning, trade, and cultural exchange. Indonesia's past is a testament to its enduring spirit, from ancient kingdoms to a modern nation, a journey that begins right now.
Our journey through Indonesian history takes us back to the 7th century. The Sriwijaya Empire emerges, a maritime powerhouse centered in Sumatra. Their dominion stretched across the vital Strait of Malacca. This strait was the lifeblood of trade between East and West. Ships laden with silk, spices, and ceramics from China passed through their waters. Srivijaya's power rested on its control of this maritime crossroads. This control brought immense wealth to Sriwijaya. They became a center of Buddhist learning. Scholars from across Asia flocked to their monasteries. Srivijaya's influence extended beyond its borders.
The legacy of Srivijaya. A lasting imprint. By the 14th century, new powers arose, and Srivijaya's grip on the region weakened. Yet their legacy lived on. Their mastery of shipbuilding and navigation left an indelible mark on Southeast Asia. The art forms and cultural practices, spread through trade and diplomacy, continued to flourish. The bustling port cities of Indonesia stand as testament. The cultural links between Indonesia and other parts of Southeast Asia whisper tales of this once mighty empire. Srivijaya's story serves as a prelude to the rise of another great power, the Majapahit Empire.
The rise of Majapahit, unifying an archipelago. As Srivijaya's star faded, a new power was rising in the east, the Majapahit Empire. Centered on the fertile plains of Java, Majapahit emerged in the late 13th century. Unlike Srivijaya, Majapahit's power was rooted in agriculture and land-based conquest. Their armies, led by skilled generals, expanded outward from their Javanese heartland. One name stands out in Majapahit's military history: Gajah Mada. Under Gajah Mada's guidance, Majapahit's influence spread across the archipelago. By the mid-14th century, Majapahit reached the zenith of its power.
The glory of Majapahit, a golden age. With territorial unification achieved, Majapahit experienced a golden age under the reign of Hayam Wuruk. Trade flourished, with Majapahit's capital becoming a bustling hub for merchants from China, India, and beyond. Temples, palaces, and public works were commissioned, showcasing the empire's artistic prowess. The arts and literature flourished during this period. The epic poem Nagara Kretagama provides a vivid account of Majapahit's courtly life. Majapahit's legacy extends beyond its territorial conquests. The concept of a unified archipelago would resonate centuries later during Indonesia's struggle for independence.
As the Majapahit Empire waned, new forces were stirring on the horizon. European powers, driven by the allure of the Spice Islands, set sail for the east. The Portuguese, the first to arrive, established a foothold in Malacca in the early 16th century. Their presence marked the beginning of a new era. The Dutch arrived soon after, seeking a share of the riches. They established trading posts, their ambition soon extending beyond mere commerce. The arrival of Europeans was a clash of worldviews, setting in motion events that would reshape the archipelago.
By the 19th century, the VOC, weakened by corruption and mismanagement, was dissolved. The Dutch government assumed direct control of the archipelago, establishing the Dutch East Indies. This marked the beginning of a new phase of colonialism. The Dutch implemented policies designed to strengthen their grip on the colony. They introduced a system of forced cultivation, known as the cultivation system, which led to widespread hardship and famine among the Indonesian population. Despite the oppressive nature of colonial rule, the Dutch East Indies period also saw some developments. Infrastructure such as roads, railways, and irrigation systems were built, laying the groundwork for future economic growth.
Resistance and resilience. The Indonesian spirit endures. Colonial rule was never fully accepted. Resistance, both overt and subtle, simmered beneath the surface. Local uprisings, often led by charismatic figures, challenged Dutch authority. One such figure was Prince Diponegoro, who led a fierce rebellion in the 1820s. Though ultimately defeated, Diponegoro's rebellion became a symbol of Indonesian resistance. In Aceh, resistance to Dutch rule was particularly fierce, waging a protracted war for decades. Resistance to colonial rule was not limited to armed struggle. Indonesian intellectuals and writers began to challenge the ideological foundations of colonialism.
Seeds of nationalism. Education, awareness, and the dream of freedom. The late 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed the rise of Indonesian nationalism. A new generation of Indonesian intellectuals began to question colonial rule and imagine an independent Indonesia. Organizations dedicated to Indonesian self-rule emerged, advocating for greater autonomy and eventually full independence. Newspapers and magazines spread nationalist ideas among the growing literate population. The Dutch, alarmed by the growing nationalist sentiment, responded with repression. However, the seeds of nationalism had been sown, and the dream of an independent Indonesia had taken root.
The gathering storm World War II and the weakening of colonialism. The year 1942. World War II reached the shores of the Indonesian archipelago. The Dutch East Indies faced a new threat, the Empire of Japan. The Dutch, weakened by the war in Europe, offered little resistance to the advancing Japanese forces. The fall of the Dutch East Indies marked the end of an era. For Indonesia, this marked a turning point, a crack in the foundations of colonialism. The Japanese occupation, though brief, was harsh and brutal, yet the desire for independence burned brighter than ever.
A nation awakens, the Japanese occupation, and the seeds of self-rule. The Japanese adopted a more nuanced approach than their Dutch predecessors. Indonesian language and culture were given new prominence. Indonesians were appointed to administrative positions, gaining valuable experience in governance. Nationalist organizations, though closely monitored, were allowed to operate. The Japanese had sown the seeds for their own undoing. The Indonesian people, having glimpsed the possibility of a future free from colonial rule, were no longer content to be mere subjects. The tide of the war began to turn against Japan, further fueling the flames of nationalism.
August 17, 1945. 2 days after Japan's surrender in World War II, a hush fell over Jakarta. Sukarno, a charismatic nationalist leader, read the proclamation of Indonesian independence. The words marked the birth of a nation. The proclamation, drafted in secret and signed by Sukarno and Muhammad Hatta, declared Indonesia's independence from colonial rule. The news spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of euphoria and national pride. The struggle for independence, however, was far from over. The Dutch sought to reassert their control, setting the stage for a bloody and protracted struggle for recognition.
The fight for freedom, defending independence against all odds. The Dutch, backed by their Western allies, launched a military campaign to retake their former colony. They faced fierce resistance from Indonesian fighters, both regular soldiers and civilian volunteers. The Indonesian War of Independence was a brutal conflict, fought on multiple fronts. Indonesian fighters employed guerrilla tactics, utilizing their knowledge of the terrain. The conflict was also a diplomatic struggle, seeking international support. The war exacted a heavy toll, yet the Indonesian spirit remained unbroken. The desire for freedom proved stronger than any colonial power. Section 5. Recognition and its aftermath. A new nation on the world stage. International pressure, particularly from newly independent Asian and African nations, mounted on the Dutch to relinquish their colonial ambitions. The United States, recognizing the futility of supporting a lost cause, also pressured the Dutch to negotiate. Finally, in December 1949, the Dutch formally recognized Indonesia's independence. The archipelago, once a patchwork of colonial possessions, was now a sovereign nation. It was a victory hard won, a testament to the unwavering spirit of the Indonesian people. The newly independent nation faced daunting challenges. The economy lay in tatters, the scars of war ran deep, and political divisions threatened to unravel the fragile unity forged in the fires of revolution. Yet Indonesia stood tall, ready to chart its own course on the world stage. The struggle for independence had come to an end, but the journey of nation building was just beginning.
Section 1. The Challenge of Unity, Forging a Nation from Diversity. Indonesia, newly independent, faced a monumental task: forging a unified nation from a vast archipelago of diverse cultures, languages, and religions. The Dutch had ruled through division, playing ethnic groups against each other to maintain control. Now, unity was paramount. The founding fathers, Sukarno and Hatta, recognized this challenge. They chose a unifying language, Bahasa Indonesia, a variant of Malay already widely spoken, to bridge the communication gap between islands. Pancasila, the 5 principles of Indonesian national identity, was enshrined in the constitution, emphasizing unity in diversity, social justice, and belief in one God. However, old tensions lingered. Regional rebellions, fueled by separatist sentiments and economic grievances, flared up in parts of the archipelago. The government, grappling with the legacy of colonialism and a devastated economy, struggled to contain these uprisings. Despite these challenges, the spirit of unity, forged in the fires of revolution, remained strong. The Indonesian people, having tasted freedom, were determined to build a nation where diversity was celebrated, not exploited. The path ahead was fraught with obstacles, but the dream of a united and prosperous Indonesia served as a guiding star.
Section 2. Guided Democracy, Sukarno's Vision and the Shadows of Instability. Sukarno, the charismatic leader who had guided Indonesia to independence, assumed the mantle of president. A visionary and a gifted orator, he sought to position Indonesia as a leader of the newly independent nations, charting a course independent of both the Western and Soviet blocs. He introduced the concept of guided democracy, a system designed to balance individual freedoms with the need for strong leadership and national unity. However, this system, in practice, concentrated power in Sukarno's hands, raising concerns about authoritarianism. Indonesia, under Sukarno, adopted a policy of konfrontasi, challenging Western influence in the region, particularly the newly formed Federation of Malaysia, which Sukarno viewed as a neo-colonial entity. This policy led to international isolation and strained relations with Western powers. Domestically, the economy faltered, plagued by inflation and corruption. Political instability grew, with the Indonesian Communist Party, PKI, gaining influence, alarming the military and religious groups. Indonesia, once a beacon of hope for the developing world, was teetering on the brink. The stage was set for a dramatic shift in power, one that would have profound consequences for Indonesia's future.
Section 3. The Transition of Power. A Tumultuous Era and the Rise of Suharto. The mid-1960s witnessed one of the darkest chapters in Indonesian history. A failed coup attempt, blamed on the PKI, triggered a wave of anti-communist violence that swept across the nation. The military, led by General Suharto, seized control, promising to restore order and stability. What followed was a brutal purge, targeting suspected communists, leftists, and ethnic Chinese. Hundreds of thousands were killed and many more were imprisoned without trial. The streets ran red with blood, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace and the human cost of political turmoil. Sukarno, his authority diminished, was gradually sidelined. Suharto, consolidating his power, assumed the presidency in 1968, ushering in an era that would become known as the New Order. The transition was swift and brutal, stark departure from the ideals of the revolution. The events of 1965 to 66 left deep scars on Indonesian society. Fear and suspicion silenced dissent. The PKI, once a powerful political force, was banned and communism became a taboo subject. Indonesia, once a vibrant democracy, had entered a period of authoritarian rule.
Section 4. The New Order, Economic Development and the Price of Authoritarianism. Suharto, determined to modernize Indonesia and restore its international standing, embarked on an ambitious program of economic development. Foreign investment was encouraged, and Indonesia's vast natural resources, particularly oil and gas, were exploited to fuel economic growth. The new order achieved remarkable economic progress. Poverty rates declined, infrastructure improved, and Indonesia emerged as a rising economic power in Southeast Asia. The government invested heavily in education and healthcare, improving living standards for millions. However, this economic progress came at a price. Suharto's regime, obsessed with stability and control, ruled with an iron fist. Political freedoms were curtailed, dissent was ruthlessly suppressed, and corruption became endemic within the government and military. Opposition voices, though silenced, continued to whisper in the shadows. Student activists, intellectuals, and human rights defenders risked their lives to speak out against the regime's abuses. The seeds of discontent, sown in the fertile ground of economic inequality and political repression, were slowly beginning to sprout.
Section 5. The Winds of Change, Reformasi and the Path to Democracy. The Asian financial crisis of 1997 to 98 exposed Indonesia's economic weaknesses. The rupiah plummeted, businesses collapsed, and social unrest spread. The crisis was a catalyst for change. Protests, led by students, demanded political and economic reform. Suharto resigned in May 1998, ending his 32-year reign. His resignation marked the beginning of a new chapter for Indonesia. The post-Suharto era has been a period of remarkable transformation.
A new millennium, a rising power, Indonesia on the global stage. As the 21st century dawned, Indonesia stood poised on the cusp of a new era. The world watched with cautious optimism as this sprawling archipelago navigated democratization and development. Gone were the days of authoritarian rule, replaced by a vibrant democracy. On the world stage, Indonesia's voice found new resonance. As a key player in ASEAN and the G20, Indonesia championed multilateralism.
Indonesia's economic transformation in the 21st century has been nothing short of remarkable. From the ashes of the Asian financial crisis, Indonesia rose like a phoenix, its economy growing at an impressive rate, lifting millions out of poverty and propelling it into the ranks of the world's top 20 economies. The government, recognizing the importance of sustainable and inclusive growth, invested heavily in infrastructure, education, and healthcare. The manufacturing sector boomed, fueled by a young and increasingly skilled workforce. Indonesia, once known primarily for its raw materials, was now producing high-tech goods, from smartphones to airplanes. The digital economy exploded, connecting even the most remote corners of the archipelago to the global marketplace. E-commerce platforms flourished, creating new opportunities for entrepreneurs and small businesses. Indonesia, once a technological laggard, was now at the forefront of the digital revolution. However, challenges remained. Income inequality, though narrowing, persisted, and the gap between urban and rural areas remained wide. Environmental degradation, a consequence of rapid industrialization, threatened Indonesia's rich biodiversity. The government faced the daunting task of balancing economic growth with social equity and environmental sustainability.
Section 4. Looking ahead, Indonesia's future, a tapestry of hope and challenges. As Indonesia looks to the future, it does so with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The challenges are formidable, from climate change and resource scarcity to geopolitical uncertainty and social inequality. Yet Indonesia has proven time and again its resilience, its ability to overcome adversity and emerge stronger. Its greatest asset is its people, young, dynamic, and imbued with a spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation. Indonesia's journey is far from over. The road ahead will undoubtedly be filled with twists and turns, but one thing is certain. Indonesia, with its vibrant democracy, growing economy, and dynamic society, is a force to be reckoned with on the world stage. The Archipelago of Hope, as it is often called, has a story yet to be fully told, a future brimming with possibilities. The world watches with anticipation as Indonesia writes the next chapter in its remarkable journey.
A journey through time, a nation transformed. Our journey through Indonesian history spans millennia. We've seen empires rise and fall, traders and colonizers arrive, and the struggle for independence. The indomitable spirit of the Indonesian people shines through. From ancient mariners to Majapahit warriors to revolutionaries and reformers, Indonesia's story is one of resilience and hope. Today, a vibrant democracy, its people free to choose their destiny. Indonesia's transformation is a testament to resilience and hope, a story that continues to unfold.
Section 2. The unfinished symphony challenges and opportunities on the horizon. Indonesia's journey is far from over. Like a symphony still being composed, its future holds both harmonious melodies and dissonant chords. The challenges are real and pressing, from bridging the gap between rich and poor to protecting the environment from the ravages of climate change. The spectre of corruption, a persistent ailment since the days of colonialism, continues to haunt the corridors of power. The forces of intolerance and extremism, though marginalized, lurk in the shadows, seeking to exploit social divisions for their own ends. Indonesia's democracy, though vibrant, is still young and fragile, requiring constant vigilance and nurturing. Yet, amidst these challenges, opportunities abound. Indonesia's youthful population, its greatest asset, is eager to embrace the future. The spirit of entrepreneurship burns bright, fueled by a burgeoning digital economy and a growing middle class. Indonesia's natural beauty, from its pristine beaches to its lush rainforests, holds immense potential for ecotourism and sustainable development. Indonesia stands at a crossroads, a pivotal moment in its history. The choices it makes today will determine its course for generations to come. Will it succumb to the forces of division and short-term gain? Or will it embrace its diversity, harness its potential, and emerge as a beacon of hope and progress in a world hungry for solutions?
Section 3. Indonesia's Promise. A beacon of hope in a complex world. The world watches Indonesia with curiosity and anticipation. Can this archipelago balance economic growth with social justice and sustainability with advancement? Indonesia's success has global implications. As a major democracy and Muslim-majority nation, its actions resonate globally. Indonesia's democracy and interfaith dialogue counter division and extremism. Its economic rise offers a model for developing nations. Indonesia's journey is a testament to hope and a better future. It inspires us, showing the power of a united human spirit. The world needs Indonesia to succeed for the future of us all.